Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build great teams. My guest this morning is Eric, and you're going to have to pronounce your last name because I'm probably going to mess it up.
Yeah, Owusu Sekyere.
I would still can't say Owusu Sekyere. That's a
That's
that's a
pretty
tough one.
close.
I'm going to call you Eric. That makes it a lot easier, right? Okay. And Erica's with Brace. I met them at IBS, International Business Show, and they got some really cool software. So, Eric, tell me a little bit about your backstory and how you got started Brace and what Brace does.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm actually from Australia, originally from Sydney, grew up there, moved to the US about 5 years ago. So was in software industry for a while, and started building some tools around sales related industries. About a year ago, I met someone who was in construction sales and a few subcontractors. And that's kind of where the idea for Brace came. They were really interested in finding permit information and data to help them with sales, to help them with things like forecasting. And yeah, we started along this path of Brace, and now we're here.
So, what does Brace exactly do and who does it do it for?
Yeah, so what Brace does is we track construction projects from the planning stage to the building stage. And we do this for basically everyone in the construction industry, but also in particular for contractors. So what we do is we help contractors find new work. That's through a combination of the planning permits. So that's before any contractor's been on a project bid. It's usually an architect or an engineer who are putting together plans, all the way to building stage projects. That's when, the general contractor is on the job or there's a home builder. They may be still looking for some subs in specialty areas, and that's where kind of the subcontractors on our platform go and find new work as well.
Okay, so a lot of these, like the old, there used to be Blue Book. There's another couple ones that are huge. Um, how would some guy, my guess is most they're local, they're going to say, okay, I'm in the Bay Area or I'm in Kansas City. I'm a remodeling contractor or a home builder, and I want to figure out before they choose a general contractor, when the architect or engineer plans, they submit for permits and that kind of stuff. Can you help them find those people?
Yeah, so we can, especially in the Bay Area. So we track everything from entitlements to planning stage projects. So entitlements is like, hey, a developer's just bought this property and they want to say, I'm building a new home, or I'm going to be doing a subdivision, or let's say I'm building a hospital. And so that's just engineers and architects only on those plans. And we basically go through all the government websites. We have some connections with architects as well. We take those projects and they're all on our platform. And then we make it easy for our customers to go and get in contact with those architects to try to get bidding into that project.
Okay. So can you give me an example of a success story, somebody that actually used it and it worked?
Yeah, so our best success story is actually in Phoenix. So it was a masonry subcontractor, and they were looking at specifically hospitality. So we had a number of hospitality projects. One in particular was a hotel out in Phoenix. They basically were able to find the project information on our platform. They went and they called the general contractor on that project. And luckily, they were looking specifically for masonry subcontractors. Through our platform, they found the number. They called the project manager. The project manager was like, "Great, I'm looking for a sub in masonry. My regular guys are busy on some other projects." They sent through the plans. They put together the bid package, and they were able to kind of connect and stay connected together through using our platform.
And so I assume they won the bid, right?
They did, yeah, they did win the win bid. They
How
were
big was the bid? I'm just curious.
what was bid?
Well, how large was the project? I mean, how big was their part of the project?
That part of the project was about 300,000.
Well, that's good. So a small guy, I'm thinking about subcontractors that are looking for generals that have jobs, or generals that are looking for architects that are doing new custom homes, or now does it work for things small as a remodel? What's the minimum size that would be applied to this?
Yeah, so because we track through permits, we track everything. So there's everything from someone's just, doing a re-roof, or someone's replacing a couple windows, to the big commercial, data center projects. Obviously, each of those size of projects has a different stage. So on some of the smaller jobs, if you're a specialty subcontractor and you go to the GC, they probably already have someone who's doing that job. But if they're building a new home, for example, that's when you can come in and be like, hey, you guys are building, multiple new houses. Like I'm a flooring contractor. This is what I do. Um, are you open to kind of bids on this part of the project? And that's how it would
Right.
work.
So now, what do they actually get, and what does it cost? Let's say I'm in the Bay Area. I'm a I don't know, electrician or plumber or something, right? And I
Yeah.
want to know, and I work on small jobs, everything from remodels to new homes. I don't do commercial. How would that work for me, and how much would it cost?
Yeah, so how it would work for you is we basically give you access to the whole Bay Area. That costs $495 a month. It's only a month-to-month contract. There's no lock-in for a year or anything like that. The way it would work is you get access to the platform, and on the platform, what it would list is these are all the projects that are happening in the Bay Area. You'd be able to filter down to, hey, I'm only interested in new homes, or hey, I only want to do multifamily, or hey, I only want really the smaller, even smaller residential jobs. You'd be able to filter down to the specific type of project that you like, that you're interested in. And on each of those would list who the GC or the developer, or potentially if it's a planning permit, who the architect on that project is. You'd get access to, who's the owner or the project manager, superintendent at those companies, and access to kind of emails and phone numbers so you can get in contact with those people.
Now, I'm not a software guy, but how would you figure how to scrape the databases of public information? There must be, you have some magic secret sauce, right?
Yeah, so we use a bunch of different tools. With the advances kind of AI recently, that's been really helpful. So there's obviously, I think, in the US as a whole, 11,500 different building departments. And each of them, some of them have the same system, but, a lot of them have very different systems. And so we've been using a lot of different tools, and especially AI, to be able to go and scrape that information. But once you scrape it, that's actually not the end. You have to go and clean it and like make sure it's readable, throw away the ones that obviously aren't have nothing to do with construction, because you can get a permit to open a hairdresser, for
Right.
example, certificate of occupancy, and things like that. And so making sure there's only the relevant projects. And then on top of that, it's okay. So this is the GC who's on this, who actually works at that GC. So we have some other tools that look for contact information databases so that we can marry all of that together.
Okay. And how do you get most of your new clients these days? Where do they come
Yeah.
from? Contractors telling other contractors? Are you doing, I'm just curious how you find people.
Yeah, right now it's mainly through conferences. So IBS, we've been to things like TEAS and NICA. So we have a bunch of conferences coming up, and because we're early, that's how we think face to face is the best way at the beginning. So
Mhm.
people can put a face to the name. We get to talk to them in person, understand what the problems are that they're trying to solve, and how we can better help. And then yeah, a few referrals here and there as well from existing customers.
Now, question. Now, Eric, one of the issues, I don't care how cool your UI is, user interface, contractors sort of suck at that stuff as a group. I mean, nothing personal, but I've been with contractors forever. And dealing with computers is not their, best thing. So let's say they sign up with you and it's a great idea, but they can't figure out how to use it. I'm going, well, this actually makes sense to me. What do you have as far as customer support to walk them through to help them figure out how to use it?
Yeah, so we actually have basically 24/7 support. So me and my co-founder, basically this company is all we do. So we're always available for emails and phone calls. And we have a very rigorous kind of onboarding where we'll take you step by step. Like this is how other customers have used it. This is how we recommend using it. These are the buttons you click. And anytime you have questions that come up, you can always ask us. We're happy to answer. The other piece is we're building tools on top that kind of automate this process. So obviously, like, having to reach out to people cold, even if, there's a relevant project that you know about, can still be daunting. And so what we're working on is tools that kind of automate that relationship building so that instead of, having to go and like, you don't know who Greg is, at G Construction, but if the tool can send an email to Greg automatically being like, hey, Greg, I know about this project. These are the things that I do. This is my website. And so when Greg replies, it's just now it's a warm introduction rather than a cold
Right.
introduction.
Now, do you integrate with like Go High Level or any CRM programs so they could like figure out some way to do that?
Yeah, so right now we have a CSV export, so you can export the leads into your CRM system. We're still working on building direct CRM integrations. Everyone has a different CRM, so we just need to figure out which one to prioritize first.
Right. So, like with the Go High Level or HubSpot or whatever, you could upload a CSV file, and then they could put them in the system. Say, okay, this is send an email one, email two, and email three. Do a phone call, do a text.
Exactly.
So if they have all the information CSV file, they can integrate it into their CRM as a lead source, and it may be a little bit of work, but at least they can say, we're going to get 15 new people a week or a month, and they can send them, they put a campaign together, right? Email one, email two, email three, because all CRM systems worked on a campaign basis of some kind.
Yep,
So you just have
exactly.
to get the CSV file in there and then have them have some kind of workflow into a campaign, right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, cool. Well, it sounds very interesting, Eric. It's simple, but it's obviously something that, most contractors are certainly not going to go down to the local, building department and figure this stuff out. The old days you might too, but they don't have time. So, and at that cost, if you get, 2 jobs a year, you're good, right?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
how did they get in touch with you, Eric?
Yeah, so feel free to send me an email. I'm Eric at usebrace.com. They can also go to our website, which is usebrace.com. Also, just happy to take a phone call. 628-264-9982, always available. And yeah, easy to contact in any of
And you're
those.
in Pacific Coast time zone, right?
Yeah, we're in the Bay Area.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Eric. I think this makes a lot of sense because I've been doing this for a long time. And I always tell in the old days, I'd say, well, if you really need work, you go down to the bidding table, go down, to Marin Builders Exchange or wherever, and you find out what jobs are coming up. But that's a lot of effort, right?
Right. Exactly.
And this would save you a lot of trips. But people just don't do it. I mean, it's too much. It works, but it takes forever. But it seems to me this is a way of automating that. So you don't have to go to the builder exchange or the building department and look up what's going on. You've already done it for them, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we put it all in a nice package.
And then you can figure out some way to build this into your CRM. So you automatically are considered for any, say you're in Marin County, any job that comes up in Marin County that between A and Z, it's either this size, it's a remodel, it's a new house, and it needs a, electrician or a plumber or even a general contractor. You can automatically develop a way to build with HubSpot or Go High Level or something where it automatically starts soliciting those people, right?
Yep, exactly.
Cool. This is a great idea. So, Eric, I appreciate you being here. It's a simple idea, it makes a lot of sense. And hopefully, if you're listening to this podcast, especially in the Bay Area, I would definitely get a hold of Eric because I think it save you a lot of time. And it's a very low cost, and you can try it for a month and see how it works, right? At $400 is not a big deal.
Yep, exactly. And we give a month back if you're not happy with it after the first month as well.
Okay, so it's basically a free trial if you don't like it, right? Cool. Eric, appreciate your time, and I give Eric a call.
Awesome. Thanks so much.